Why would you want to play an MMO solo? Let's start with that, because the truth is a lot of us end up spending most of our time playing our MMOs by ourselves. Whether it's on purpose or not, we log into these massively multiplayer worlds and then do solo activities like questing or farming some rare cosmetic. And a lot of us spend very little time doing the group activities in MMOs like raiding. So why play an MMO? In my opinion, it's because it gives us the option to scratch that multiplayer itch if and when we want to, but also we love the idea of a never-ending RPG, of developing a character over months and years as a story constantly unfolds ahead of us. Year after year, new stories, quests, and abilities get added, and that never-ending nature of an MMORPG is truly unique to the genre. Not only that, the epic cosmetic that you just farmed is so much more satisfying to wear when there's actually somebody else around to see it. The massively multiplayer part of the MMO is great, but the fact that all that work we put into the character isn't discarded after a week or two like in a single player game, well, that's just as important. So which MMOs do the best job of providing endless high quality content for the solo player? Whether they are the player that doesn't have friends to play with or the player who does have friends but those friends are always way behind or way ahead of them. Let's dive in, and here they are in no particular order. First up, Final Fantasy XIV, PC, and PlayStation. Beautiful cat girls, tiny lalas, and arguably the most popular MMO in the world right now. Final Fantasy XIV is what many refer to as an RPG MMO. The story absolutely comes first. Every bit of content in the game is unlocked as part of the story. Want to do a dungeon? Follow the story. Want to do a trial? Same thing. If you've ever logged into an MMO and not been sure what you were supposed to do first, you don't have to worry about that in Final Fantasy. The answer is always, in part or in whole, the main story quest. There's hundreds of hours of content there, and that's before you get into all of the optional stuff like side quests or the cosmetic and mount farming, which Final Fantasy does better than just about any other MMO out there. All the best cosmetics and all the best mounts are earned in game. I mention that because this adds so much to the solo experience, as you have so many mounts and cosmetics that you can work your way towards, even as a solo player in Final Fantasy XIV. Now, it's worth noting that since the dungeons and trials are part of the story, even a solo player will have to do those. Fortunately, the game makes this process incredibly painless, as it automatically creates a group for you to do the content with. And I will say the Final Fantasy community is without a doubt the nicest I've experienced in any MMO, as the developers are actually very proactive when it comes to toxic behavior. But my dear fellow introverts, if you're still concerned, don't worry. Final Fantasy XIV has this thing called the trust system that lets you queue into group content with a group of NPCs, allowing you to avoid all human interaction in a lot of the would-be group content if you so desire. If you're in the mood for an amazing decade-long story with a fantastic cast of characters, an unforgettable score, and some of the most epic cutscenes in any game ever, check out Final Fantasy XIV. Final Fantasy XIV's last expansion was its most successful ever, so there's never been a better time to jump in. You can try the first 60 levels for free. After that, you will have to purchase the game and subscribe if you want to continue progressing that character. Elder Scrolls Online, PC, Mac, Xbox, PlayStation, and Stadia. Daedric Princes, the 3-Faction War, and Furries. Elder Scrolls Online is another MMO that focuses on the story first and the group content second. In Elder Scrolls Online, you can go to any zone in any order, as each zone's story is a compartmentalized experience. This means that the Morrowind fans can start in Morrowind, and the stealth archers can start in Skyrim, and the people who have no idea what I'm talking about, well, they can start at the beginning. ESO is a theme park MMO, which means you've got a ton of different options that you can choose from every time you sign in. You can do quests, delves, dungeons, trials, and more. They are adding new content every quarter, so you never have to worry about running out of new things to do. While the group content does offer a lot of great experiences and amazing gear, you are by no means required to engage with any of it. You can stick to the solo questing activities exclusively if you so desire. If you want to make friends, that's easy too, as ESO lets you join 5 guilds at a time so that you can be in a specific guild for each type of activity, whether it's dungeons, roleplay, the economy, or you name it. ESO questing is very easy. Too easy in my opinion, so it makes for a very relaxing experience that is much more about the story than the combat. On the bright side, every single line of NPC dialogue is voice acted, and there are some pretty massive names in the voice acting of these characters. Names like Kate Beckinsale, Nolan North, and John Cleese. If you've enjoyed Elder Scrolls games before, you'll be familiar with the lore, of which there is a ton to soak up as you play the game solo. In fact, I'd argue that a lot of the lore is easier to soak up as a solo player. You can slow down and listen to every line of dialogue, and you can stop to read every lore note found along the way. You can usually pick up the base game for less than $10 if you enjoy it, and you can spring for a sub to get all the other DLCs, more than doubling the size of the game. The sub is optional, but you will find the inventory management is incredibly difficult without it, and a lot of the coolest items and the best gear are tucked away into that expansion content. Still, even without the sub, the base game by itself provides hundreds of hours of Elder Scrolls content. If you enjoy Elder Scrolls games and you're not expecting a Skyrim clone, you'll probably enjoy soloing your way through Elder Scrolls Online. Just be careful gambling on those crown crates. They tend to be a bad investment. But you know what is an investment worth considering? The sponsor of today's video, Masterworks. Masterworks is the investment platform for contemporary blue chip art, allowing you to invest in art by world-renowned artists like Picasso, Banksy, Monet, and Warhol. Since 2017, Masterworks has sold 5 paintings with an average net return of 26.8% to investors. What's more, contemporary art prices have outperformed the S&P 500 total return by 164% for the past 26 years. Art is least correlated to stocks and bonds, making it a fantastic hedge against inflation. And have you ever wondered what billionaires, with their endless supply of investment advisors, are investing their money in? Well, 2/3 of billionaires allocate 10 to 30% of their portfolio to art. I think that speaks for itself. Turbulent times like these are a perfect time to consider taking advantage of an alternate asset like art with Masterworks. Find out more and invest now by visiting their website linked below. There's currently a waitlist to sign up, but with my code, you can skip the waitlist and start investing today. Thanks for listening. Let's get back to the video. Guild Wars 2 PC. Mounts, gliders, and mounts again. Guild Wars 2 mounts are so amazing that wow, yoinked them. Guild Wars 2 is yet another MMO with a heavy focus on the story it tells. Fairly unique to Guild Wars 2 is that not only are all the characters around you voice acted, but your character is voice acted as well. This adds a lot to each piece of the story you encounter, as you can hear the pain, the frustration, and the laughter in your character's voice. Guild Wars 2 has some of the most fun single-player zone exploration out of all the MMOs on the list. You can solve jumping puzzles to get secret loot. Zone completion is insanely fun and rewarding, and it also provides points for upgrading both you and your mount. And when you make it to the first expansion, you get a glider that allows you to jump off anything and everything. And trust me, you will. You can solo your way through the entire story of Guild Wars 2, but it does have meta events where 100+ players will meet up to take down a dragon the size of a high-rise. And I know that you're here because you're a solo main, but trust me, when you see one of these things happening, run over and join in. They are a ton of fun and they can be very rewarding. Guild Wars 2 has a great community, and it just released on Steam after having an incredibly successful expansion, End of Dragons. The first 80 levels and over 200 hours of content are completely free, so jump in and try it. It's an amazing game. There is no sub, not even an optional sub, but you will have to buy the expansion content if you would like to play it after you hit level 80. And if you're enjoying this video, please consider liking the video and subscribing for more MMO content. I've got some amazing videos coming up about the future of the MMO genre. Next, we have Old School Runescape. PC, Mac, Linux, iOS, and Android. Old school graphics, old school leveling, old school RuneScape. Old school RuneScape is a sandbox MMO where you can sign in and do anything, anytime. If you're not a fan of following a questline through an MMO, this might be the perfect MMO for you. That's not to say there aren't quests, as there are over 150 story-driven quests in Old School RuneScape. You can focus on skilling, which is basically improving your character's various different skills. Want to be better at something? Have your character do that thing. Have your character do a lot of that thing. This is the most classic feeling MMO on the list today, as RuneScape was originally released in 2001 and has hardly deviated from its original idea. Thanks to its old age and thus modest computational demand, the MMO can even be played on your phone. Thanks to the very low device requirements and the slower nature of the game in general, this is definitely one of the most accessible MMOs on the list today. You can group up with others or choose to go at it alone. Almost all of this game is soloable if you really want to go that route. Old School RuneScape is free, which means there's no reason not to try it if it looks interesting to you. RuneScape is one of the most popular MMOs in the world, despite its age. Clearly, they've done something right here. So if you're looking for that classic MMO experience, or if you want something that you can play on your phone while watching TV, maybe give RuneScape a try. World of Warcraft, PC, and Mac. The Horde, the Alliance, and a massive number of players that have been playing this MMO for longer than some of you people watching this video right now have been alive. For a long time, World of Warcraft was the uncontested king of the MMO sphere, dwarfing its competition in terms of player count. Today, it's still massive, though definitely not the uncontested titan that it once was. WoW has been around since 2004, and as a result, has a massive amount of content that you can do solo. This includes, of course, tons and tons of questing, and also the ability to go back and solo old dungeons dungeons and raids while you're on the hunt for cosmetics, pets, and mounts. I do feel like WoW has fallen behind a little bit on the questing experience. Other MMOs have voice acting and some even have cutscenes, making WoW text boxes feel a little bit low effort by today's standards. But WoW does feature a massive, seamless, open world for you to explore and hundreds of collectibles to farm. You don't have to participate in group content in WoW, but if you decide to, WoW does provide the ability for you to queue into dungeons and raids, so coming into WoW without friends won't prevent you from being able to do any of the game's content if you want to. WoW features a very brief free trial allowing you to play the game up to level 20 for free, so you can get your toes wet before spending any money. After that, you'll need to purchase the game and a subscription if you want to continue playing it. Star Wars: The Old Republic PC. Lightsabers, space, and the Force. Star Wars: The Old Republic, or SWTOR as it's known, is a story-driven MMO about, well, Star Wars. It features familiar Star Wars music and Star Wars characters, so if you're a fan of the Star Wars franchise, you're gonna immediately feel at home in this MMO. You can play through the entire story as a solo player, and worth mentioning is that in Star Wars, each class has its own storyline, and each storyline has 3 different possible endings. The choices that you make as you play through will determine which ending you earn. It's really cool to see an MMO where the choices you make actually have an impact on the ending of your story. When you ask a Star Wars player what their favorite part of the game is, it is usually the robust class stories. Star Wars: The Old Republic is now a free-to-play MMO with an optional sub, though if you do sub for just 1 month, you'll unlock all the zones in the game and you'll get to keep them unlocked, even if you cancel your sub. So if you enjoy the game, it's probably definitely worth picking up that sub for a month and then letting it go. The most recent expansion was its smallest and shortest yet, leaving many fans of the MMO wondering what the future will hold. Regardless, the solo content that is there now is excellent and definitely worth enjoying if you're ready to dive into a good Star Wars story. Black Desert Online, PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. Beautiful women, beautiful men, and beautiful combat. Black Desert is beautiful. Black Desert Online is an MMO that was actually designed to be played solo. Group content in this MMO is incredibly sparse and definitely plays a second fiddle to the solo grinding that they built the game around. Does questing bore you? Do you prefer posting up in an area and grinding out experience? BDO might just be the perfect MMO for you. One thing to note, however, is that in BDO, once you reach a certain level, the game does become full PvP. Anytime you're grinding XP out in the wild, someone could come and gank you, or you could go and gank them. Now, the punishment for dying is next to nothing, so it's not a huge deal. You can just revive and get back to it, but I know some people are definitely not going to appreciate the mandatory PvP experience, so it's definitely worth mentioning. BDO is a gorgeous MMO with a decent enough story, but it's commonly praised for the look and feel of its combat. You can even play BDO on mobile, but it does have a different version of the game tailored to mobile devices, and it's not cross-platform, so you won't be able to play with PC players if you're playing on mobile, and vice versa. The gear upgrade system is built around gambling and is often a thing that players lament when it comes to BDO. The game is currently buy to play with an optional monthly subscription. If you want something a little different, beautiful, and that has amazing combat, maybe try grinding out some levels in Black Desert Online. Lost Ark PC. Massive weapons, massive spells, and a massive cash shop. Lost Ark is a free-to-play, top-down ARPG MMO. If you enjoyed Diablo-likes before, this isometric perspective will instantly feel familiar, but that's where the similarities to Diablo end. Lost Ark is much more of an MMO than an ARPG. You have hundreds and thousands of hours of progression tucked into this game if you want it. Now, Lost Ark is a game that I played at the same time as a lot of my friends, but never with my friends because the game is so incredibly fragmented. Your friend that's only one day behind you will be doing different chaos dungeons, different abyssal raids, and different quests, so it's very much an MMO you end up playing alone with other people. There is a lot of content that you can do solo in Lost Ark, but there is also a ton of content that requires you to group up with other players. Fortunately, this is handled by the game, and you do not need to bring any of your friends into the game to enjoy it. Lost Ark is an MMO with tons for you to do every day. You can choose zone completion, cosmetic farming, sailing, life skill leveling, questing, you name it. It lets you do everything your typical MMO lets you do, and then some. Lost Ark gets a lot of flack for being pay to win, and the developer themselves even said, yeah, we're pay to win, but that's so more people can play it. Fortunately, in PvE, it only helps you if the people in your group are whales, as it increases your chance for success in those raids. But if you do tend to be pay to win averse, then you may want to choose another MMO on this list. But if that's not a problem, Lost Ark has a lot of fun things for players who want to solo their way around the world, no friends required. And it's free to play, so you've got nothing to lose. While it seems totally contrary to the entire point of an MMO, more and more these days it feels like soloing in an MMO is what we spend most of our time doing. More and more of the content is built for the solo player and less of the content is built for the group player. Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing for the genre? Let me know down in the comments below. I may feature your responses in a future video. As always, thank you for watching. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more MMO content. A massive shout out to my YouTube members. Click the join button down below for more information on how to become a member and to support the channel. Oh yeah, what are you gonna do next? Maybe watch one of these videos popping up on screen right now?